Hello class, this is the second video in the external brain series. We're going to be looking at the functional areas of the cerebral cortex. So this model has the various functional areas in color for you. I want to remind you, you have a list of the functional areas that you need to know in the external brain lab. It looks like this, these under functional areas. And so we went through these, talked a little bit about their functions in lab. So let's go ahead and see if we can't identify those over here. So let's begin with this sulcus. Name this sulcus that runs between the red and purple strip you see. Central sulcus. The strip in front of the central sulcus is called the precentral gyrus, but it's also an important functional area. What is this functional area? The primary motor area. And so if you look, trying to get it to, it's not focusing very well, written on that area are the names of the regions of the body where cell bodies that are involved in initiating motor movement are located. So for example, it says, although you can't read it well, this says tongue, jaw, lips, face, eyebrow, neck, fingers. So again, this would mean that cell bodies that are involved in initiating motor movements of the fingers would be located in this region. This is the left cerebral hemisphere, so this would control movements of the fingers on the right side of the body. In front of the primary motor area, this area in yellow, this is an association area. What is its name? It's the precentral cortex. I'm sorry, premotor cortex. The premotor cortex is an association area, and it has stored memories and experiences of previous motor experiences and learning. So, for example, how do we know how to brush our hair, you know, which muscles we need to engage, or how do we know how to walk upstairs? That information of previous motor experiences is stored in this association area called the premotor cortex. So primary motor cortex, premotor cortex. Behind the central sulcus is the postcentral gyrus. The postcentral gyrus in purple here is also an important functional area. What is its name? That's the primary somatosensory cortex. So this has cell bodies that's bringing in sensory experiences from skeletal muscles from various regions of the body that also correspond to the homunculus that we talked about in lab. So we know where those areas are located on here. They're not drawn out on the model, but that's okay. So behind the primary somatosensory cortex is its association area in the light blue. And so what do we call that? That's a somatosensory association area. This is where we have stored memories of previous sensory experiences. In the extreme back of the cerebrum here, so in the occipital lobe, the green area is a primary area. What is it? Primary visual area. So this is where we're going to receive impulses that come from the eye in terms of vision. Around the primary visual area in yellow, what do we call this area? This is the visual association area. So this is where you have stored memories of previous visual experiences. So, for example, this is how you recognize someone's face that you know that you've seen before. The auditory areas are located in the temporal lobe, at the top of the temporal lobe. So they are here in red. The area that is in the front or anterior, what is this? That is the primary auditory area. So we're receiving stimuli, sensory stimuli from the ears in terms of hearing. How you recognize someone's voice or you recognize a song that you know is due to the area behind it, which is the auditory association area. So visual areas in the back, auditory area on the side. And then we also have two other areas that are located only on one cerebral hemisphere, generally the left. And so you see this blue patch here. Name this area. located on only one cerebral hemisphere. This is Broca's area, or Broca's motor speech. So this area contains cell bodies that are involved in the movement of the lips and the tongue and the throat in order to make words. Over here, also a blue area and a little bit of this red area. It's in the picture that we used in lab. It was just had a dotted line that kind of outlined this general region. It's towards the back of the parietal lobe. This is Wernicke's area, or Wernicke's Language Comprehension Center. So it's in this region of the brain that we are interpreting both the written and spoken language. So those two centers are only located on one cerebral hemisphere, Broca's area and Wernicke's area. Then for the last area that's on our list to know is this area that you see here up in the front. And they're saying you see language, you see analytical, you see rational and logical written up here. Name this region. It's right in the front of the frontal lobe. This is the prefrontal cortex. This is the area that when we talked about this in lab, we said that this is a really complicated area. It's highly dependent on feedback from our external environment. This has a lot of our IQ and intellect, how we know how to do math, problem solving, that sort of thing. But it also has our conscious, like how we know the difference between right or wrong, our social skills, how we know how to behave, what to wear, that kind of thing. So all those really complicated, important kinds of activities that we do located there in the prefrontal cortex. So those are the functional areas of the cerebral cortex. So the important parts of the external layer, the outer layer of the cerebrum.